All right, everyone, we start off today talking about Jeffrey Epstein's guards getting a rather fun agreement. They're going to have a suspended sort of trial. So the thing is, for the next 6 months, I guess, they have to do a bunch of community service and potentially be cooperative with investigators. And in exchange, they're not going to get sentenced for anything. They just have to admit up front, basically a written statement, yeah, we lied. That fateful night that Jeffrey Epstein totally killed himself, we lied about the fact that we weren't off somewhere else. By the way, we were just taking a nap. We were really, really tired after a double shift, and lied about, checking his cell. They fudged the numbers on the times that they had checked his cell. Of course, they didn't. Now, this is very interesting because at the same time, the cameras to his cell and that general region, I believe, were turned off. And you've got 5 or 6 other major inconsistencies in this story. He was killed. To be clear, Jeffrey Epstein was assassinated, presumably by very powerful people. The idea that the investigation, though, is going to disclose that and isn't just going to be a frame-up or a cover job, don't expect anything to come from this. First and foremost, though, if you're watching this video on YouTube, there will be a pinned comment down below with links to 4 other video hosting sites that I use, as well as a link to my Substack where I'm doing occasional journalistic content, fully sourced and everything, sort of like news and analysis, predictions and shit. Now, a little bit about crypto, a little bit about everything else. Keeping in mind I make 4 videos a day, but only 2 end up on YouTube. The other ones, usually they're just too spicy for YouTube, so, YouTube is still abusing everyone that uses the platform and doesn't have priority status. And if you have to ask if you're on priority status, to be clear, you don't have it. Jeffrey Epstein's murder, which is what we're going to call it, it wasn't a suicide, is so obvious that it's, in my opinion, it's meant specifically as a poo-poo to you, basically, of the little people. It's basically an astonishing and brazen mafia-style attempt to lord over the fact that whoever's responsible is beyond prosecution. Now, some people say, well, it's the Clinton crime family. Of course. Bill Clinton went to Epstein's little St. James Island a number of times and was hanging out there without Secret Service and probably fucked kids. It's possible. But if you look at the laundry list of people that were there, fucking Kevin Spacey and a million others, any of these rich and powerful people wouldn't have wanted him flipping and agreeing to name names in order to save himself from life in prison or the death penalty or something. Epstein, I think they were worried would flip. He was on suicide watch for a while. He was, and he also had a cellmate, which also wasn't there when he killed himself. Everything just lined up. The stars were exactly aligned at that particular moment in time so that he could successfully kill himself by backflipping, I believe, or front flipping off of a 3-foot incline with, I guess, braided toilet paper around his neck or something, snapping his neck while there were no cameras or people in order to be witnesses to the suicide. And of course, from the inside of his cell, he totally knew that there were no cameras watching and that the guards were asleep and not there at the time. See, it stinks to high hell. When this many things line up, it's a hack job. Now, will the investigation turn up anything? No. The investigators, I assure you, have already been paid off or blackmailed. The people that are actually investigating are in with the deep state. Whoever's responsible is probably friendly with the investigators. It's not going to get... You expect them to come out a month from now, 2 months from now. Oh yeah, by the way, we have correspondence here proving that Bill Clinton ordered Epstein killed to shut him up. We have proof that it was actually Ghislaine Maxwell's Norwegian billionaire lover. So no, it's not going to lead to them. Prince Andrew went to Little St. James. They were good friends. By the way, I love it when all the liberals who realize that if you look at the list of people that were there, it's lopsidedly people on the left wing of the spectrum. I love how they try to say, well, Donald Trump flew to Lolita Island. Well, no, he didn't. He took Jeffrey Epstein's plane once to Manhattan for a couple of hours. He, by the way, was one of the earliest people to cut off contact with him after the initial investigation proving that he was into weird shit. Trump did that. Well, the Clintons didn't. I don't know that Spacey did. Although Spacey seems to be fucking batshit, so we're not exactly... I guess his plea deal is insanity at some point. Look at the list of people that were there. Royalty, billionaire magnates, politically connected, celebrities and stuff. They're both young and old, by the way. And it's clear what was going on there. We know trafficking occurred. We know trafficking specifically related to underage people happened. The sort of people that have the kind of money, the kind of power to fly on a private jet to a billionaire's private rape island for a weekend are not the sort of people that are incapable of fucking with the legal system. If you expect this investigation to turn up anything other than, number one, it was this obscure person at St. James that had him killed. So a disgruntled employee, a rogue cop or something came into his cell and said, wow, fuck Jeffrey, he harmed children, I'm going to kill him myself. And he shut the cameras off and waited until the guards were asleep. And then he snuck in and wrung his neck. They might find that intriguing, but it's not the real story. Otherwise, they're just going to find, yeah, it was a suicide. These guards, unfortunately, they fell asleep. Now, then they falsified computer records, to be clear. And they weren't asleep at the time. They were falsifying the records. And it just doesn't make sense. And that degree, by the way, in order to have the guards paid off or give them sleeping pills, maybe that happened. In order to do that, plus make sure that whoever came in to kill him didn't get detected, wasn't on any cameras because the cameras were turned off. If you have that kind of money and power, you'd be the kind of person that could go to Little St. James. You'd also have a motive. It'll be one or more of those people that's actually responsible, but you're not going to ever get that closure. The whole thing seems mafioso. It's more like, hey, we just killed a dude in order to cover up our own crimes, and you can't do jack shit about it because we're just so well connected. It would be exactly the kind of thing that a demented, corrupt deep state that's looking to do an Empire Strikes Back sort of situation because they feel embattled by populism, it's just the sort of thing they would do to scare the sheep. It's just the sort of thing they would do to say, look, you're never going to get that fair prosecution, that fair investigation. It's just not possible. We have too much power. We've got too much money. When we all wash each other's hands and one another's asses and dirty genitals after we go to the island together. And we know that that's what happened there. It's not even in question. This investigation's not going to be fair. The odds of them coming out and saying, well, here's a list of 100 Hollywood celebrities and 20 bankers and a dozen notable politicians that screwed kids and got blackmailed by Epstein, and that's where all of his magical money came from. That's probably true, but you're not going to get that closure. That's what I think anyway. It'd be a pleasant surprise if actually they come out tomorrow and say that the Clintons actually were responsible, but it's just, well, it's historically speaking, if we look at the prosecutorial system, at the so-called justice system, does that happen very often? No. It's only rogue elements that go against the deep state that ever get hack jobbed. Look at that. They're trying to investigate Trump on trumped-up charges in New York right now for a reason. It's only when one of their members goes rogue or doesn't want to get corrupted and isn't like snorting the coke and screwing the hookers, only then do they actually get thrown under the bus. And it's usually it's taxes. They did this to Al Capone. Al Capone, when he died in prison, he wasn't in prison for killing people. He wasn't in prison for bootlegging. They couldn't prove his direct killing. They couldn't do anything about the bootlegging because they kept using jury nullification because everyone wanted to drink anyway. No, they got him in tax evasion. Oh yeah, well, yeah, so you've got all this money and you didn't pay taxes. The money came from bootlegging. Of course it wasn't claimed. They got him on that finally, on federal charges, so they could prevent him from being let free. Happens all the time. The law is like a spider's web. The flies are caught, the wasps go free. That's an old Vermont proverb that I'm sure many of you have heard before. That's about all. Peace out.